All right, so we have Aaron Judge on both. The one on the top is him in spring training this year, 2021. And the one on the bottom is prior years. This is a strikeout on a pitch up. So both of these pitches are up. And I've got him in heel plant right now. And he looks like the identical hitter. But you're going to see some very different things. He has changed one thing in his setup and his stance. He's a little bit more open as he lands now. So his front toe is kind of in the instep of his backside, whereas he used to be really, really square. So now he's kind of opened himself up a little bit. Posturing is still the same, but let's kind of walk through the bottom one first. So the very first move on this pitch that's up, you can see him get into this big shrug. Now you can see him almost lifting himself up to go, and then you can see his hands are actually going to finish above his head. So they are actually being thrown in an upward direction on a pitch that's actually up in the zone. Of course, he swings and misses and he can't catch up to it. But we're going to see this shrugging, this lifting on a pitch that's up. Instead of being more relaxed through the shoulder, he's actually going to raise up. So you're going to start to see his shoulder really start to come up in this big giant shrug as he's slotting. So now he's in this, this upper position where he has to try to lift right here. So you can see his body try to lift itself up and try to hit that ball. So that's the old Judge where he's trying to manipulate and change his posture. And this is probably why he keeps hurting his oblique, is because he tries to put a lot of pressure on that backside by over tilting and trying to lift his body. So he probably just, ends up putting a lot of pressure on it. Anyways, let's kind of let's go to the top one now. We'll see what he's doing now versus before. And we can see this cleaner turn. We're not seeing a lift. We see his head fully in view. We see him staying a little tighter. He's going to be a little flatter. And now he's getting behind the baseball. So you can see his hands right now aren't even close to above his head. They're actually below his chest. So we got same height pitches. The bottom one's on the outside part of the plate, and the one on the top that he hits a home run on is a pitch that's in. But it shouldn't matter for posture, right? Especially for the height pitches. He is a little stretched out on this pitch just because it's away, but it doesn't mean you have to raise up to go get it. And this is where he's at. He's trying to raise himself up on the bottom. You see his hands are level with, let's clear that. His hands are pretty much level with his helmet. That's how high he's trying to get his hands. And that's in the front. That's, in the front of his body. That never happens here. It just stays below, works around his chest, and that's a high pitch. And that's exactly. So the it gets in inversion. So it's still below the hands, which is normal. And he moves through, right? He's not trying to lift up anymore. He's not trying to overcompensate tilting. And you can see he's not putting as much pressure on his oblique or his spine. He's in a much safer position. So I like this transition for the top of the strike zone, trying to flatten himself out a little bit. He's going to have a lot more success at the top of the strike zone thinking about coming down to the top of the strike zone versus thinking that you have to start swinging up at the top of the strike zone. So this move right